Minutes from this podium. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I am Gail Brewer from the Upper West Side, and I want you to know that Reverend Jackson gave me something that others may not, which was I was an alternate delegate in 1988 for Reverend Jackson, and then met some very special people, including my friend Valerie Jo Bradley, where we went all across the 5 boroughs in support of that candidacy of Reverend Jackson. And that opportunity, I think, also gave me the opportunity later on to work with David Dinkins and for, as you heard earlier, the very great Mr. Lynch. And all of this to say that I was not part, I think, of some of his amazing activities on Wall Street, but the fact that I was a leader at the time of the National Women's Political Caucus, and the fact that I could take the women's agenda and attach it with the great work of Reverend Jackson was a kind of effort that he made and recognized what we were doing as women in the city of New York. So I thank him for that. We won. And Valerie and I went on to the convention. So I'm here to say that there are so many ways that this amazing man had an influence on people whom he did not even know he was having influence on. So I thank him for that from the bottom of my heart, because it was the first time I won. Thank you very much for Jackson, and we are always thinking about individual ways for what you did for all of us. May you rest in peace.
Thank you. Let us now welcome Manhattan Borough President Brad Cohen-Siegel.
Thank you. Good morning, Brad Cohen-Siegel, Manhattan Borough President. What an honor to be here to memorialize Reverend Jesse Jackson. You know, as a young gay kid growing up in rural West Virginia, I heard that 1988 speech. I heard that 1988 speech at the Democratic National Convention. He was the first candidate on the floor of a national convention to mention gay and lesbians. Jesse Jackson was a leader, not just for Black America, but for all Americans. In my community, we also know the work he did on HIV/AIDS, spreading the word about testing, spreading the word about safety, a lesson that St. Virginia Fields from this neighborhood has carried forward time and time. And I'll never forget also Reverend Jackson helped my family. He stood firm, one of the first national leaders to oppose the hateful proposition in California that would have banned same-sex marriage. It was Reverend Jackson who stood up for my community. I want to thank Reverend Jackson. I want to thank Reverend Sharp and I want to wish that Reverend Jackson's memory be blessed. Thank you very much.
Let us now welcome Councilmember Crystal Hudson.
Council, and who reminds me that I quite literally have to stay on my shoulders to see. It's not just those of Shirley Chisholm, David Bacon, those of C. Virginia Fields, Bill Thompson, Charlie Randall, Percy Sutton, Adrian Adams, Roger Green, Dr. Nina Clark, Al Van, so many of the other folks who have been named today. But it is the mighty, mighty shoulders of folks like Reverend Jesse Jackson, who quite literally paved the way for an outpaid Black woman like myself to be elected. And for me, as the parent of a 2.5-year-old, I found solace in watching the video of Reverend Jackson on Sesame Street from 1972. And it's also how I explained to my 2.5-year-old who he was. And to dozens of children of all races, all creeds, and all nationalities, sitting side by side on Sesame Street, he proclaims, I am somebody. I am somebody. I may be poor, but I am somebody. I may be young, but I am somebody. I may be small, but I am somebody. I may make a mistake, but I am somebody. My clothes are different. My face is different. My hair is different, but I am somebody. I am black, brown, white.
It's in the back, the left side, downstairs.
But I must be respected, protected, never rejected. I am God's child. I am somebody. Rest in power.
It's not me back here. No, this is the speaker right here.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here today to remember such an icon to so many of us. I want to thank Reverend for bringing us all together to pay tribute to this civil rights movement leader, Reverend Jesse Jackson. In Congress, I'm blessed to serve with Reverend Jackson's son, John, who will and does proudly carry forward his legacy. It's really impossible to put into words what an extraordinary Reverend Jackson was. From marching on Selma to shining a light on critical social issues, to laying the groundwork for so many of our progressive leaders, Reverend Jackson was a monumental force for progress who empowered everyone to fight for what is right, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. He led by example. He showed us that faith isn't just about introspection or family, but recognizing that all people are born in God's image and therefore deserve equality and justice. He is one of the many civil rights icons who inspired me to join the fight, to go to law school in hopes of becoming the next Jack Greenberg, the Jewish leader of the NAACP with benchmark for more than 2 decades. As a Jewish New Yorker and grandson of immigrants who fled persecution and sought refuge in this country, I think often of Reverend Jackson and his leadership. Jewish and Black Americans have always been connected through our shared history of discrimination. And while there have been some bumps in the road, Reverend Jackson's open heart and fidelity to God continue to strengthen that bond. And I'm grateful that Reverend Sharpton has picked up that baton during these trying times. I think often of Reverend Jackson's image of America as a patchwork of quilts. America is not like a blanket, he said. One piece of unbroken cloth, the same color, the same texture, the same size. Instead, America is more like a quilt. Many patches,
many pieces, many colors, many sizes, all woven and held together by a common thread. To me, that thread is our perpetual quest, to leave our country better than it was before, and to ensure that every person, no matter their background, or their ethnicity, or their religion, has the opportunity to enjoy all that this country has to offer. Now, right now, someone at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue is trying to tear apart our nation's quilt. He's using hateful and racist rhetoric, sowing seeds of division, sending armed mass agents into our cities to separate immigrant families who came to this country for the same reason my grandparents did, in search of a better life and that American dream. And in times like this, when there is so much hatred and cruelty coming from the top, it's easy to lose faith. It's easy to throw in the towel and give up. But as Reverend Jackson will remind us if he were here today, we must never surrender. America will get better and better. Keep hope alive. And so guided by Reverend Jackson, let's all continue to fight together with all that we've got to restore the promise on which this country was founded, of being that shining beacon of hope for your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. May Reverend Jackson's memory be both a blessing and a guide as we bend that arm towards a future with equality and justice for all, one that would make him so proud. May you rest in peace.
Thank you. Let's now welcome the Dean Chambers Choir and the director of our musical director, Minister Tyrone Richardson.
Good morning. Welcome to National Action Network Live on 107.5 WBLS. Let us now welcome our president and founder, the Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton.
No justice. No justice. No justice. No justice. What do we want? What do we want? What do we want? When do we want it? When do we want it? When do we want it? Shake hands with the person next to you. Tell them you love them. Trouble and trials, don't last always. There's none on the side, but we work hard again. Hold on, be strong. America is coming, but it won't be too long. Change will come, change will come, change will come. Starting with you, change will come. Starting with you. I was saying back in the office in the back to some of us gathering that I remember in 1972, a black woman from Brooklyn ran for president of the United States. It was Shirley Chisholm. And I remember riding around with Miss C and Ada Smith and Victor Robles, and I wasn't even old enough to vote yet. I was 17 going on 18. And when I turned 18, it was the first year they let 18-year-olds vote. And they said this one was crazy thinking about running for president. But she ran unbought and unbossed. And 10, 20 years later, from 72 to 84, Reverend Jackson ran. And they said that was ridiculous. And then 20 years after that, Barack Obama became president. The struggle is not an overnight win. The struggle goes to those that keep fighting, that look at defeat and say, I'm gonna keep on anyhow. And we come in the name of Jesse Louis Jackson to say that if you hold on, your change will come. Your change will come. Your change. Just keep the faith. Your change. I know we will. Your change. Change will. Several years ago, 5 young men were put in jail for something they didn't do, coerced into a confession. One of their mothers called me and said my son didn't do it. We went down and stood with them. Wasn't many of us. It was, some of us didn't even get along, but we agreed on that. Bill Perkins, Lambe Brad, all us down there marched for those boys. People castigated us, but we stood by those boys. There was a businessman in New York, never opened his mouth about Howard Beach. When Michael Griffith was killed in Howard Beach, which was the next neighborhood to Jamaica Estates where this businessman grew up, never opened his mouth. Never said nothing about Yusef Hawkins in Bensonhurst, where they threw eggs at us and watermelons. Man stabbed me one Saturday morning leading the march. They never said a word. But he took ads out in the newspaper saying, bring back the death penalty to execute these 5 young men. But every Saturday morning, I walk out the Saturday rally, and I look at the front row and see them young men have been exonerated. 2 of them here this morning. Know that even when it looks dark, raise your hand, Kari Weiss, Yusef Salaam. If you hold on, if you hold out, the race isn't given to the swift, nor to the strong, but to those that can endure to the end. Hold on, your change will come. Your change will come. Your change. Don't you give up. Your change. I know you will. Your change. Change will. Yeah. Change will. Standing with you. Your change will come. Your change will come. National Action Network Change Choir. Give them a big hand. Give them a big hand. Certainly, we're happy to be with you another Saturday morning for the Saturday Action Rally, and for you that are here live at Mother AME Zion Church, and for you that are listening live on WBLS 107.5 in New York, you that are watching us on Impact Television worldwide, and you that are watching on nationalactionnetwork.net or on YouTube/NAN. We're happy to be with you another Saturday to give our report on where the action is. And this week is a special memory, I don't like to say memorial, for our patron saint, the Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson. Last time Reverend Jackson spoke in New York, he spoke at NAN. One Saturday morning, some of you were there. We had to help him on the stage. And it is appropriate that we do this memorial today. We're going to hear from some that have their view, and I'm certainly grateful for you that have already spoken, our public advocate, Jemani Williams, and our city council president, Julie Menon, and our congressman, SBI. And many have already spoken. Our controller, Mark Levine, and I'm gonna get in trouble so I don't call somebody's name. Jordan Wright, I got to call John's name. I got to live here. But let me also say that I met Reverend Jackson in 1968. My mother brought me to Bishop Washington, and he was my pastor. She was upset that I was enticed with watching the news, Adam Clayton Powell, and she wanted Bishop Washington to tell me, as I was a boy preacher in Washington Temple, to stay out of the world politics, Bishop Taylor. And Bishop Washington said at that time, and on President Street in Brooklyn, 2 blocks, all the big preachers lived. And we in Bishop Washington's house, he said, I know what to do. He took us across the street and knocked on Bill Jones' door, Reverend William Augustus Jones. And Reverend Jones opened the door and he said, Bill, I want you to help me out. This is shop. He said, yeah, I know the boy preacher. He said, yeah. He said, his mama's here and she worried he gonna leave the church. And Bill Jones said, I know what to do with him. We'll make him our youth director. The young folks will follow him. And they made me youth director. And his daughter now is the vice chairman of our board. Stand up. Jennifer Jones Austin. And one of the social scientists of our time is Jenny Jones Austin. Nobody knows wealth gap and inequality better. And that about a month later, they opened the breadbasket office over Carver Savings Bank on Fulton Street near Nostrand. And they cut the ribbon that night. Reverend John Scott, who was our executive director, Jesse was wearing a leather jacket, and that's me, the little boy in the middle, when I was just 13 years old when they cut the ribbon. I went from there to here, where Reverend Jackson and I spent the last Christmas. But every Christmas we used to go spend with the Jackson family. And the last 2 Christmases, after we fed the people here at the House of Justice, convention, stayed the whole time. I said, nice of you to come in. He said, I'm gonna be here till it's over. And he was, even in the wheelchair. And I remember that, and we're gonna talk about it tonight on Politics Nation, my show, 5 o'clock Eastern, on MSNOW. Way well, I'm not gonna talk about that yet. But watch it, 5 o'clock, and then tomorrow Mercury and others will be on. I'll be on there every Saturday and Sunday, 5 o'clock. It is Jenny's favorite show. She don't never miss it. Till I learned that she records it and watched it later. Her kids say she didn't see it, she watched the re-record. But in 1983, Jesse Jackson said, somebody ought to run for president from our community. Why did he say that? Well, because there had been the campaign in Chicago for mayor of the city. And at that time, Richard Daley was running against the incumbent. And the incumbent and Richard Daley got decided he was going to run in the race. And I'm trying to think her name, who was the incumbent mayor at that time. Mondale and Kennedy came in and endorsed the opponents. And that's when they said, we need to run a black for mayor. They went to Harold Washington, who was then a congressman, and asked Harold to run. Harold said, I'm in Congress, I'm comfortable, I'm not gonna do that. They kept pressing him. Finally, he said, if y'all raise $250,000 and register 50,000 new voters, I'll run. And they came back and they had raised $500,000 and had registered 100,000 new voters. Harold ran and won. He's 83. Jackson said, now we need to get a black to run for president and be competitive in the primary. He went to Maynard Jackson, who was mayor of Atlanta, wouldn't run. Went to Coleman Young in Detroit, wouldn't run. Went around, and as he was moving around, people started saying, why don't you run? And people started to chant, run, Jesse, run. And when he decided to run, and he came to New York, he could not become one that was embraced by the political establishment. He had to go to the outsiders, who they considered outside. And his base was right there in Bed-Stuy. Al Van, Roger Green. Because the Harlem politicians had already gone with Mondale. I was there. Reverend Herbert Daughtry. Where's Reverend Daughtry? Is he here? Reverend Herbert, did y'all get a chair for Reverend Daughtry? Well, y'all lost your mind, got Reverend Daughtry? Okay, they find him. They gave him a base, and he had no troops on the ground, and he had one labor group that would be progressive, because everybody in labor wasn't always progressive now. And we would find headquarters at 1199 with Dennis Rivera. Stand up, Dennis Rivera. When our movement was homeless, Dennis Rivera gave us a home. And one of the young guys running around with Dennis Rivera and them
became one of the factors in American political life and international diplomacy. He grew up become the political director to Barack Obama's White House and ambassador to South Africa, stand-up Ambassador Patrick Gaspar. Out of that Bed-Stuy political organization. Didn't have no money for commercials, but we had the baddest producer, director in the world, put a commercial together for Jesse Jackson, 84. Spike Lee did that. And out of that fertile ground, Shirley Chisholm went on, but we produced another unbought, unbossed black woman. Don't scratch where she don't itch. Don't sit down when she can stand up. I want to bring her on first, the State Attorney General of the state of New York, State Attorney General Tish James.
Thank you. Thank you. I think it's disgraceful that Speaker Johnson would not allow Reverend Jesse Jackson to lie in state in Washington, D.C. Absolutely disgraceful. And it's an honor and a privilege, as we talked about yesterday's decision, that I, along with 11 Democratic attorneys general, filed the lawsuit that halted the imposition of the IEEPA tariffs, which would have had a major impact on Americans and New Yorkers because it was in violation of the Constitution, violation of the separation of powers, because that power is delegated to Congressmember Espaillat and Congressmember Golden, Dan Golden from the borough of Brooklyn and Manhattan. And that's why we decided to stand up and to let them know that they have the power and not the President of the United States. And it's also an honor and a privilege as we celebrate Bedford-Stuyvesant to be here with my council member, Crystal Hudson. He was the voice of the unheard, the voice of those who have historically been locked out of the sunshine of opportunity. He was a gentleman who once said, leaders must be tough enough to fight, tender enough to cry, human enough to make mistakes, and humble enough to admit when they are wrong, and strong enough to absorb pain, and resilient enough to bounce back and to keep on going. Those are the words of the late Reverend Jesse Jackson. He was somebody. And the reason why I am somebody, because he was somebody. And I want to thank Mr. Rivera for all that he has done. I want to thank Ruben Diaz, the former borough president of the Bronx, for all that he has done. And I want to thank him, obviously, for joining with me in so many rallies. And of course, his father, who is here as well. And we love you, Reverend Diaz. God prays for you every day. Reverend Jackson called any theology that excuses cruelty to the poor, to immigrants, or the oppressed to heresy. He brought moral clarity in difficult times and believed in the wisdom of King Solomon's words. Open your mouth for the speechless in the cause of all who are appointed to die. Open your mouth and judge righteousness and plead the cause of the poor and the needy. At this point in time, I'm going to defer my comments because I want all of you to meet and to hear from the daughter of Al Van. As all of you know, I worked for Al Van for 11 years. Al Van was my mentor. He was my boss, but he was also the president, the chairperson of the campaign for Jesse Jackson when he ran for president in the state of New York. She recently found all of these books and letters in the home that she shared with her dad. And she wrote a powerful article yesterday in a Brooklyn magazine. And so I hope that you do not find it robbery if you allow her to say a few words. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the podium, Ms. Binta Van.
morning. Good morning and thank you. Woo. My name is Binta Van. I am the daughter of the late Dr. Albert Van. He was a Brooklyn educator, a state assemblyman, and the man that Reverend Jackson approached and trusted to run his 1984 presidential campaign in the state of New York. Today, I want to honor Reverend Jackson by telling a piece of this story that Brooklyn knows and that the rest of the world deserves to hear. Their story began in 1972 in Gary, Indiana, at the National Black Political Convention. Reverend Jackson delivered a keynote that electrified the crowd, telling the crowd not to wait for permission to grow Black political power. My father heard him, and he went home to Brooklyn, and he spent the next decade doing just that. So by 1983, my father had been in the assembly almost 10 years and was serving as the chair of the Coalition for a Just New York, a citywide alliance of Black elected officials, clergy, activists, fighting for equity in city government and in our schools. So when Reverend Jackson came looking for someone to organize the most complicated state in the nation, he found a man who was already proven he could do it. We are gathered in a house of worship today, and I think that matters because Jesse Jackson was a minister before anything else, before the campaigns, before the conventions, before the negotiations with heads of state. He was a man called to speak truth to power from the pulpit, and that calling never left him. It infused everything he touched. My father understood that. He told me Jesse could motivate and generate movement among people with his preachings and his teachings. That was the gift, not just the politics, the spirit behind the politics, the conviction that justice was not merely a policy goal, it was a moral imperative. And the preacher in him never let the politician forget that. But spirit needs structure, vision needs organization. That 1984 presidential campaign succeeded not only in inspiration, but on infrastructure. My father called on the Brooklyn delegation that he had spent a decade building. Major Owens, Clarence Norman, Frank Boylan, Roger Green, Annette Robinson, Belmonette Montgomery, Reverend Herbert Daughtry, Jitu Iusi, Sam Penn, and so many others. Together, they drove voter registration, they organized precincts, and they delivered delegates. When it was over, my father told me with unmistakable pride, we made a very successful campaign, the largest delegation in the convention. Right. That campaign transformed the Democratic Party's delegate rules from winner takes all to proportional representation, a change that decades later helped Barack Obama win in 2008. Attorney General James and so many leaders gathered here today, you are living proof that what these two men built together. My father said of Reverend Jackson, being close to him was instructive, impressive, and one of the many cherished moments in my career. I believe Reverend Jackson has finished the course. He ran his race, and what remains is ours to carry. Today, we celebrate one of them, and I ask that we honor them both with our continued work. Thank you.
Come on, give her a hand. And let me say, as she talks about Reverend Jackson never leaving the pulpit, I remember that in 1994, when I decided to join the Baptist denomination, and Reverend William Jones, Jenny's father, who I introduced, Jenny. Jenny's father baptized me at Bethany Baptist Church, me and the whole family. And Reverend Jackson flew in to my baptism. And I think that says a lot. You know, you never get far from the roots. A tree dies when it gets away from its roots. And the fact I'm going to preach tomorrow at Bethany Baptist is Africa Day. Stand up. My pastor's in the house, Reverend Dr. Adolphus Lacey. And many of our clergymen, I see Bishop Taylor. Let me recognize the ministers that are here. Reverend Dennis Dillon, Bishop Victor Brown, Staten Island. Reverend Arcella Hughes, she's here most Saturdays with us, St. Luke's. And if I'm missing somebody, it's because Dominique didn't write them down. One of the reasons that the church has always been an anchor for the movement is because the church was the first institution that Black folks had. Don't ever forget that when Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation and that we were allowed to go free January 1st, 1863, we had nothing. A lot of people just act like, oh, they got free and everything was cool. We had been 246 years working with no wages, against the law to read and write. Didn't know where our family was, sold our kids to one state and we in another. The only thing we had was the ability to congregate and form the Black church. That's all we had. And out of the Black church came our fraternities, came our businesses, came our politicians. And if you get away from how you started, they will cut you off from the strength that gave you something in the first place. All we had when we walked off that plantation was faith. And what Trump and them are trying to do today is break down our faith in our God and in ourselves. Long as they can convince you you can't win, you won't win. I keep telling people all over the country, I don't know what y'all afraid of Trump. We beat Trump in 2020 with Joe Biden. I grew up in Brownsville. How you scared of somebody you already beat? Selling wolf tickets. Getting up in the middle of the night, selling wolf tickets. One of the things that Reverend Jackson always preached was rainbow. And what we practice here at NAN is rainbow. And on Thanksgiving Day, as we were getting ready to go out and feed the homeless and the hungry, we would do it at our headquarters. We're getting ready to move in the next 3 weeks to our new headquarters. At that, I stopped in my office and said to Tish James and the others that I wanted to get Reverend Jackson on the phone. And Dennis, I got Reverend Jackson. He put the phone to his ear. He couldn't speak that well. And I said, Reverend, I want you to hear some words from Tish James. And I want you to hear some words from Ambassador Gaspard. And I want you to hear some words from the new mayor of the city of New York, part of the rainbow. And he's here this morning, the new mayor of the city of New York, Mayor Zoran Mandani. I just told you.
Good morning, everyone. Before I begin, I do have to hug the Attorney General. Just give me one moment. I want to say thank you, first and foremost, for inviting me to be here today. And I want to say thank you to the Rev for convening us. Thank you as well to Reverend Bird for allowing us to gather in this sacred space. And thank you, frankly, to everyone who has come today for coming together to grieve, to remember, to honor a man whose greatness shaped this nation. You know, I am truly privileged to be here alongside so many leaders, those that are alongside me, those that are among the pews, because what I see in this room are so many New Yorkers who were inspired time and time again by the leadership of Reverend Jesse Jackson. Truly. Our world feels colder today than it did on Monday evening when Reverend Jackson was still with us. Colder because our great quilt of unity has grown smaller and frayed. The man who held the common thread between his fingers is no longer here to sew us closer together. Colder because we remain in that long, dark night of reaction that Reverend Jackson spoke of in 1988. And yet the end does not feel in sight, as it did when his voice thundered from the stage in Atlanta. Colder because this is no time to be losing leaders. And yet here we stand mourning the man that so many of us turn to for guidance, for wisdom, for solace. But as I look out on a room full of those with feet calloused from marching alongside Reverend Jackson, with throats hoarse from chanting for justice, I see those who do not allow themselves to be consumed by grief, but those who use it as a force to draw us closer to one another. I see New Yorkers who know that hope does not stay alive on its own, but that it is nurtured every day by neighbors taking care of neighbors, strangers standing with strangers, acts of kindness after acts of kindness. When New Yorkers link arms with someone they have never met before and march for the voiceless and the downtrodden, hope is alive. When New Yorkers sacrifice their precious free time in a city where every child can have the education that they deserve, where every family can afford a home and the stability that it holds, where our criminal justice system is fair and our economy is just, when New Yorkers link arms in the fight for those things, hope is alive. And when New Yorkers refuse to hide from the darkness of the long night of reaction, but confront it head on, hope is not only alive, my friends, hope is the light. And we know this, that while Reverend Jackson may not be with us any longer, his purpose has not dimmed. His clarity has not faded. As we work every day towards a New York that delivers dignity for all, towards a nation that rejects ICE's cruelty and violence towards the stranger among us, and towards a society where compassion is not a rarity, where solidarity is not abstract, let the Reverend's words be our guide. Let his leadership drive us to confront the challenges of our time. I return again to what he said at the 1988 Democratic National Convention, in a speech nearly 40 years old, but as fresh as if it was delivered yesterday. If an issue is morally right, it will eventually be political. If we are principled first, our politics will fall in place. Let us refuse to flinch from the hard questions, from the areas of disagreement, from the moments of conflict. Reverend Jackson did not shirk the great battles of his time. He did not keep his boat in the harbor. Neither shall we. I have tried to spend much of this week reading from Reverend Jackson's speeches, his conversations, his reflections, reading from him to understand the way in which we move forward in this city and in this country. And as he spoke so passionately of his constituency, of the damned, the disinherited, the despaired, it was a reminder for all of us of what politics should be, as opposed to what it has become. And I see in his words, and I see in his legacy, and I see in his life a lesson for myself and for all of us of how we can continue to lead in the manner that Reverend Jackson did for 84 years, by serving those with less, by rejecting the powerful forces of inequality wherever they appear, and by keeping the faith that change can come and that it will come. And I want to say thank you, Reverend Sharpton, for giving me the honor of a lifetime to have been able to have that moment speaking to Reverend Jackson. Because too often, when we live in the present, we forget everything that made that present possible. I know that I would not be standing here were it not for the work of Reverend Jackson and all those that he organized and inspired. And I know that that is the case for so many, because the struggles that he fought, he wrote a playbook that we continue to use today to fight for the working person. And I am so thankful for his legacy, and I am so thankful to be here alongside other leaders who continue to carry that torch. So thank you for having me here today. Thank you for having me be a part of this same quilt that we speak of. It is an honor, it is a privilege, and I will recommit myself every day to ensure that my actions and the actions of our city are honoring the actions and the lessons of Reverend Jesse Jackson. Thank you so much.
Mayor Zoran Mondani. And I was with the mayor the other night, and he was telling me that he was reading a lot of Reverend Jackson's works. So I'm going to give you some more works to read, Mr. Mayor. This is a book, Never Lost, by our chairman, Reverend W. Franklin Richardson, sitting next to you. We're going to give some of them out. And Never Lost. We're going to have this for everybody. Let me say this, and I think it's important. And I don't know if he's got to go. It's all right. I don't get offended when folk come and leave. Because I do the same thing to y'all, so we all right. They call it an appearance. I know how to do that too. One of the things that he said, the mayor said, that I think is important, is that as one grows in age, one should grow in wisdom. And you learn that God has set the universe, Dr. Richardson, in a way that, if you really stop and look, is instructive. I fly a lot, travel a lot, and I like to look out the window and look at nature. Sun, if it's night, moon, stars, clouds. We're supposed to be in a solar system of 9 planets. And you never saw Mars bump into Saturn. You never saw the moon bump into the sun. So that means that God formed the universe in perfect order. So if everything in the universe for the thousands of years we've been here, if everything is in order, then why do you think God got to you and made his first mistake? You are not a mistake. How you was born, what race you were born, what family you was born, what neighborhood you were born, all of that, none of that was chosen by you. None of us had a multiple choice test to say, I want to be this, I want to be that. You were just born. God had already decided that. Then when you were young and started acclimating to your environment, you were figuring out where God put you. Your job is to figure out what God wants you to do with the gifts and talent he gave you in the environment he put you. Rather than fighting where he put you, you evolve from it, or you're going to limit yourself. That's why the older I got, I kept going back. Me and Reverend Jackson argue and fight, but kept going back to him, kept going back to Bill Jones, because I was rooted there. And the problem that we have today in our community is that we are not rooted in the struggles that brought us through. The minute we got a little success, we act like God made a mistake and we tried to become something else. We got in the White House and thought that was the promised land. That was a 4-year lease that we turned into an 8-year lease. And every time we made a step forward in our history, there was always a pushback. 64, Civil Rights Act, pushback. 65, Voting Rights Act, pushback. Mrs. King used to talk about how they had to march on Washington, 250,000. Why? What energized the march was the killing of Medgar Evers. That's why some of you, some of you that just cook up theories and don't study history. He's talking about, well, Sharpton and them be using victims to build movement. That's what all the movements was built. Is you take the victims as an example of a system. Medgar Evers got killed in June. The march on Washington was in August. The backlash was 2 months later. They bombed the church in Birmingham. They didn't think because they had one march it was over. They killed them 4 girls in the church in Birmingham just 2 months later. That shamed the nation. And they signed the Civil Rights Act. At the Civil Rights Act signing, Andrew Young told me the story. They were there getting the pens from the president. Signed the bill. Gave one to Whitney Young, Urban League, one to NAACP, Roy Wilkins, one to Dr. King. Said, Dr. King leaned over and said, Mr. President, now we need voter protection. We need a Voting Rights Act. And President Johnson said, Dr. King, I use all my political power to get the Civil Rights Act. I don't think I can get that through. And Andrew Young said when they were leaving the White House, Andrew looked at the president, at Dr. King, and said, you hear what the president said? He said, yeah, I heard him, Andy. He said he ain't got no power to get the Voting Rights Act. What are we gonna do? And Crystal Hudson, he said, well, I guess we're going back down south and get the president some power. And that's when they went to Selma and started marching. And when they went across that bridge, first Sunday in March, 1965, Dr. King wasn't even there. He was at his home church. His father pastored with him, Ebenezer. And they sprayed and tear gassed and beat down Amelia Boykin, who led the Selma movement, Hosea Williams and John Lewis. And the savagery of that beating is what drove them back in and passed the Voting Rights Act. You must know how to use drama to dramatize your affliction. And if you expect those in power to encourage you, then something wrong with you. I tell young guys and ladies on our staff now, reason that they used to always castigate me is because I was after them. It was permissible to talk about racists down south. It was all right, Dr. Richardson, Dr. Byrd, talk about Bull Connor. But don't talk about NYPD. Don't talk about these up north, well-dressed, manicured racists. Because then you're up against the media elite and the entertainment industry. So when we started marching, Jacques de Graaf, we're marching up north. They applauded King and them for doing it down south, but don't do that in New York. So when we went and saw what happened in Howard Beach to Michael Griffith, and they said, well, no, they thought that he was breaking in somebody's house. It was a mistake. I said, no, the mistake is that y'all think there are neighborhoods we can't go in. I'll prove it was racist. That's when we went and marched out in Howard Beach. And what proved our point is we came out there with about 500. There's about 800 whites out there throwing bricks, calling us the N-word. Same thing happened in Bensonhurst. I became controversial because we ripped the veil off of northern racism. They didn't want the world to see who they were. And one of them was a manicured, well-tailored bigot named Donald Trump. I marched on them in the 90s, and I'm going to keep on marching, because if you stay on the battlefield, you're going to win. If you don't back down, you're going to win. Look at what's going on. All of their power is crumbling. Supreme Court voting against them. They go in the middle of the night and arrest Prince Andrew in his house. Somewhere I read, if my people who are called, I didn't say if everybody, I said if my people, I'm talking to a specific crowd. If my people called by my name would humble themselves, you got too proud. You forgot where you come from. You got too hardy. But if you humble yourself and pray and turn from your wicked ways, then, right then, I will hear from heaven. I will heal the land. I will heal the land. Jesse, we won't let you down. Jesse, we won't leave the battlefield. Jesse, we won't turn back. Jesse, we won't bow down. Jesse, we won't give in. Jesse, we won't turn around. We come too far. We spent too many nights in jail. We cried too many tears. We're going to keep hope alive. We're going to keep hope alive. We're going to keep hope alive. When I think about how we went to jail against AMP in '69, all the way to now, I held Reverend Jackson's hand Christmas night, not knowing I was saying goodbye. And his son, Jesse Jr., will be on the show today. Tell him to raise his hand to answer yes or no. He said, "You proud of Al?" He raised his hand, yes. Ashley and Dominique was with me. And I thought about how we come through all kinds of struggles. I never would have made it. There's no calculus I should have made it. My daddy wasn't a big preacher, and granddad, I didn't come from that pedigree. Didn't go to Ivy League school. I never would have made it without thee. I would have lost my mind. But now I see he was there for me. Never would have made it. Never would have made it. Never would have made it without you. I would have lost it all. But now I see you were there for me. Never would have made it. Never would have made it without you. I would have lost it all. But now I see you were there for me. And I'm stronger. I'm wiser. I'm better. So much better. When I look back over all you brought me through, I can see that you were the one I held on to. Never would have made it. Oh, I never would have made it without you. I would have lost it all. But now I
were there for me. Now I'm stronger. I'm wiser. And I'm better. So much better. Hey, when I look back at all you put me through, I realize it was you. Oh, I'm stronger. I'm wiser. I'm so much better. When I look back at all you put me through, you know what I want to. I'm stronger. So much I would have lost it all. Now I see you there for me. I never would have made it. Oh God, I never would have made it without you. I would have lost it all, but now I see you were there for me. So glad I can see that the Lord has been there for me. But now I see you were there for me. Yes, and now I see you were there for me. And now everybody's singing. Everybody's singing. Everybody's singing. Everybody's singing. Singing like you mean it. Singing like you mean it. Everybody now. Everybody sing. Everybody singing. I'm open the doors of the movement. There may be someone here today that hear us on the radio, watch us on TV, but never join National Action Network. You can come right down to me right now. Let us sign you up. No better day than the day we memorialize our patron saint, Reverend Jesse Jackson. Come on, just come right on down now. Don't ask nobody. Just come on. Everybody's singing. Come on. Everybody's singing. Everybody's singing. Yeah. Everybody's singing. Come on. Everybody's singing. Everybody's singing. That's right. One more time, y'all. One more time, y'all. Wait. Everybody's singing. Everybody now. Everybody sing. Come on. Everybody singing.
Yeah, sing it like you mean it. Sing it like you mean it. Everybody sing it. Yeah. Everybody now. Everybody now. Everybody sing it. One last time, y'all. One last time, y'all. One last time, y'all. All right, these are new members. That's why I told you, hold up. I'm a fisherman. I know where there's more fish in the pond. Just watch me. All right, we're going to take and sign them up. I'm going to raise our offering as they sign them up. Y'all follow, we call her Goldie. Follow Goldie. Let us sign you up. Then we'll bring down and induct you into National Action Network. There's a whole lot of new fish up in here. All right, I need to raise our offering. I'll move it real quick. Again, we've already said it, but let's thank our Chief Operating Officer of National Action Network, Reverend Dr. Malcolm Byrd, who pastors this historic church. Let me tell you, when we decided to leave 145th, come here for Black History Month, there wasn't no accident. This church is where Frederick Douglass, you can go to see the museum downstairs, Frederick Douglass spoke at this church. Sojourner Truth changed her name at the altar of this church to Sojourner Truth. Madam C.J. Walker's funeral was in this building, this church. Paul Robeson was a member of this church. I got a video of him talking about this church. So we're on sacred ground. I want everybody to give to the best of your ability. We got almost 5,000 that's watching on our live stream. I don't know what YouTube is doing in Impact, but you that are watching, you can go right on the website where you're on and give on the website. But I need about 15 folk in here today that can give $100 or more to come quickly. I need 100. Don't make me beg. We got company. Reverend Bishop Taylor, $100. Dr. Richardson, $100. Who? Corey Weiss, $100. Rachel Nordlinger, $100. Bishop Victor Brown, $100. Michael Garner, $100. Reverend Jacques DeGraff, $100. Dr. Jesse Fields, $100. Tamika Mallory, $100. Good to see you. Good to see you. My pastor, Dr. Lacey, $100. Choir, $105. Ruben Diaz, member of our national board, $100. Who? John Royston, $200. Marianne Perkins, $100. Richard Tad, $100. Dr. Canton, $300. Who? Chaplain Sandra Mitchell, $100. Louis Papa here every week, $100. $150. Who? Y'all can't talk that fast now. Martin Braxton, $100. Attorney Joel Smelkin, $100. Oh Lord, our Queen Mother, Camille Yarbough's in the house, talking about history. Come on. Camille Yarbough, I didn't see her. God bless you. Yes, let's talk. I'm so glad to see her. Reverend Hughes, here every week, $100. CJ James, $100. My song, the rapper and the activist, $100. Sister Mary Ann Spraggins, who also helped Reverend Jackson form the Wall Street Project, $100. Amplified Voices, $100. Winston Gilchrist, $200. Anonymous, $300. That's right. If you want to give money, don't want me to call your name, just say anonymous. I know some of y'all in tax trouble. Just come on, give me money. Guardians, $100. All right, 50s, 50. Come on. I got all these hundreds. I know I got some 50s. Cleveland, $50. Come on, Cleveland. Y'all give me some names. Dawn Jones. Anna Qualu, $50. Laura Sands, $50. Jamie Bland, head of our New Jersey chapter, getting ready to have a big event. Senator, thank you, I didn't see you. Senator Robert Jackson, $100. Joshua Curtin, $100. Brother Mallory, Stan Mallory, good to see you. Brother David, what you got on? You got on your rainbow top today, I see. What? $50. Love Malone, $100. Garvin Core, $100. Anonymous, $50. Bruce Rich, $50. Kevin Brown, $50. Now, whatever you have, $1, $5, $10, whatever you have, just come on. Everybody, come on. Somebody's sitting in your pew that they ain't moved, tell them, let's go down. Give some money. Play some Get the Money music. Cassius Rudolph, head of our HBCU tour, my special assistant, used to work for Reverend Jackson. Everybody. Anthony Chow. My God. Long time no see. All right. All right. Is everybody giving? Is everybody? Y'all didn't give? Whoa, 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 whoa. Some folk coming down the aisle, let them down. I don't want to hurt nobody's feelings. Let them give. Yo, don't clutter up my aisle. Let the folk come through that want to give. Yeah, that's right. Come on, come on. Whatever you have, come on, come on. Let them through. Come on, come on, come on. Let them through. Where are you ushers? All right. All right. All right. Thank you, thank you. We're here every Saturday now, 9 to 11, bringing our new members. Now, I'm going to take in the new members, and then our chairman has his book out. I gave one to the mayor, and we have a lot of them today. I want everybody to take a book. They asked me how much it costs. Whatever you want to give, we'll pay the rest. You got $1, $100, and he'll sign it for you. Everybody need to have this book. And we're going to take in our new members and dismiss, and then let Dr. Richardson sit down front and sign the books. When I call your name, raise your hand. Julius Allen. Julius Allen. Marianne Rosario. Marion. Okay, Rosario's right there. MacArthur Harris. Over there. Ronald Remsen. Right here. Dominic Scruggs. Jaden Hodges. All right, right here. James Seals. Right here. Leonard Ingram. Okay, Leonard Ingram. Deborah Gilead. Right here. Renee Mickens. All right. Tessa Dolman. Bazavia Coleman. I know I messed up. Bazavia. Straighten me out now. Bazavia. Altamise Griffin. Did I say it right? Because Altamia, she straightened me out. You straightened me out too. Reverend Damon L. Cabalstar. Where's Cabalstar? I ain't seen you in a long time. Yeah, you had that mask on. I didn't know that was you. Good to see you. Aaron Benjamin. All right. Stephen Jackson. Relester James. Right here. Okay, good. Olivette Taylor. Okay. Francis. Who's this? I can't read the first name. There's Miss Francis right here. Jonathan Kirsch. All right, there you go. Anybody I didn't call your name? Rita Russell. Make sure this is down. I didn't see that. Now, first of all, let me say to all of you that we are so happy that you stepped forward and became a member today. We want you to fit in, do whatever work you want to do, whatever committee, whatever your talents are. This is not a elitist organization. This is for all of us to find something to do. And I want you to feel part of this. We meet here every Saturday until we move in our headquarters 9 to 11, but they have committee meetings during the week. And I don't care if you joined 35 years ago or today, you're equal members in this organization. Ain't no big shots. So I want to welcome you to the National Action Network. Give them a big hand. Turn and face the audience. Welcome them to the National Action Network. Welcome them. Isn't this wonderful, all these new members? All right. All right, you can go to your seats. Let everybody stand again after I dismiss. Dr. Richardson will come down and sign books. If you want to give $5, $10, whatever you can give, Nan is covering the rest of the cost. But everybody ought to get a book. Reverend Dr. W. Franklin Richardson. Never Lost is the name of the book. You really, at these times, you need to know we're never lost. And this book will inspire you and bring you through. All right. Oh, man. Sing grace. How sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now. Repeat after me. We're an African people, robbed of our names, our language, our families, our self-respect. But we shall rise, never to fall again. Up, you mighty race. We can accomplish what we will. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. Shake the hand of the person next to you and come down and shake my hand for you leave.
May I have your attention, please? If you would like a book, please remain inside of the sanctuary. We're going to set up the table for the books right down front. If you desire the chairman's new book, please remain in the sanctuary and come right down. Reverend Sharpton is shaking hands now. Will be available in a second with the book set up, but please remain in the sanctuary.